Hi everybody, Matt Bernier, Mike Beer here in the Daily Racing Forum studios, taking a look at the Friday formulator race of the day. Santa Anita race number 6 are going a mile on the turf. Optional claimer, non-winners of one other than. Let's take a look at the field. Again, head on over to the Race of the Day page on drf.com. You can get your free formulator past performances and handicap along with us in post position order. The number 1, Mike, is Double Touch for Dan Blacker. This is a first-time gelding. His 2 starts here in North America. The first one, not so bad. The second one, not great. So good. But you know what? He's been away for a month and a half, 2 months now, and you get the clipping. Maybe this helps him.
Yeah, I like them coming back to this condition, too. I know that I sort of understand why they tried the stakes race with him last time. I thought his stateside debut was actually pretty good, as you sort of alluded to. I like the way they rode him that day, just let him settle off the pace, and then they tried to squeeze through a pretty tight hole in the stretch along the rail. He got through that, and then I like the way he finished up a little bit too late, but I thought he ran well that day. And I will just say this about his Singletary, not that he was going to win that race, but they rode him a little differently in there and sort of kept him up chasing what was a really solid pace that race. I mean, that was a race dominated by closers, and I think they might have kept him a little bit too close to the pace last time.
And keep in mind, too, that horse 2 back that he ran into, Sharp Samurai, came back to win a stakes race in the Rainbow most recently. So Double Touch certainly not without a chance in here. The 2, Midnight Pleasure, an interesting entrant from Mick Ruiz, stretching out, second time off the bench, first time on the turf. The Midnight Lutes are only about 5% first time turf. When I go back and watch that most recent start, he just sort of seemed like a grinder, even paced. At the end, it seemed like he was doing a little bit of running, but I don't know if that was an optical illusion where the horses in front of him tiring.
Yeah, I thought they maybe were tiring. We'll see what happens with him. I'm not going to be surprised if he does well in this field. I just wanted to see. Well, I guess there's some turf. I don't want to say there's no turf pedigree. The Dam, she didn't race, but she's a half to a really, really good turf horse. So it's not like there's no turf pedigree. But Midnight Loop, man, I don't know. That's not enough for me. Maybe he'll do well in this race. I'm not betting him.
We'll find out. He is also a newly flipped gelding in the spot, so maybe we get some advance there. The number 3 is Billy Big. We've got a formulator fact for Billy Big and Phil D'Amato. Past 3 years turf, second off the layoff. Sprint to route 10 for 31, 430 ROI. It's hard to find bad numbers for Phil D'Amato. Right. The problem I have with this horse is, to date anyway, I don't think he's done anything spectacular on the racetrack.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't like any of it. Actually, I like the trainer a lot more than I like the horse. I just don't like anything this horse has done. And you have to be at least a little concerned with that run off the layoff. Now, maybe he doesn't want to go down the hill. That can be tough, but I mean, he didn't lift his feet up in that race.
No, and that's got to be the concern, too, because it's one thing when I understand, you're going to get run off your feet going downhill when really predominantly you're a router, but at the end of the day, you've got to put in some sort of bid at the end, and you can't use the fractions as an excuse because they went an honest pace early. He just didn't do anything. Right. The 4, Pacific Coast Highway, is a horse that I'm a little bit interested in. Simon Callahan trains. Most recently broke the maiden for 50, so any class players are probably going to look at this immediately and say, kind of an aggressive move up. You have had one next out winner, though, coming out of that race with a 73 buyer. I personally believe that the blinkers just woke him up in a big way. It may not have been the most visually appealing effort, but it was just one of those things that I kind of feel like he'll stay on. The problem now I have is not only is he facing winners, but I wish this was at a mile and an eighth. I'd have more interest in him. At a mile, I don't know that I love him.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't necessarily love the cutback for him. Listen, the figure he earned for his last race puts him close. It's not going to put him there, but it puts him close. We'll have to improve again. I'm with you, though. You sort of alluded to it wasn't a visually impressive win. He didn't do anything for me. He got it done in that race on a class drop, but it didn't really do anything for me.
The 5 is Kentucky Colonel, and while we're talking about Kentucky Colonel, let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector if we could, because this is just the way that I look at this horse, and I've looked at this horse all along. I'm curious to know what you think. I think Kentucky Colonel is, 1, a little bit overrated, and 2, absolutely needs the lead. I don't see him getting the lead, and if you fall into my camp, he can't win.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't like this horse at all in this race, and they're not going to put blinkers on. I guess Mandela sort of feels like he wants to be closer to the pace too. It's not going to help him in this field. There's way too much speed in here for him. The only win he has on turf, I mean, he just walked on the lead in that race, and he just barely held on. I don't like any of his races.
And particularly if you think he needs the lead, the horse drawn just to his outside is the 6, Bird or Brady. This is a horse most recently broke the maiden going 6 on dirt. That was on a speed-friendly track at Santa Anita, which Santa Anita generally is, but it helps also when he gets out there and kind of walks on the front end. To me, this is just a very odd move.
I agree.
Immediately going from breaking your maiden 1-turn dirt sprint to now 2 turns on turf. For what it's worth, the Ken Tharos Kentharos about 17% first time turf.
Don't mind Kentharos on turf at all.
Yeah.
I mean, that slider can do anything. He's a Glitterman dam. I mean, they can turf as well. The dam herself, all 3 of her wins were dirt sprint. She was 0 for 3 on the grass. So I don't know if this horse is going to handle it and stretch out, surface, which all those things. And I agree with you. It's a weird surface switch for this horse right off of a maiden win.
Wouldn't you at least see what you got one time against winners on dirt?
I would.
And then if it didn't work, you always know you can go to the turf. For me, it's just a little bit of a peculiar move. We'll find out if it ends up being successful with it. Another horse with speed is the 7 Elwood J for Jerry Hollendorfer. Only victory today, gate to wire fashion. He figures to be forward. He's been taking on some decent enough horses in Calbred company.
Yeah.
You see B Squared listed in there 2 starts back. He ran very well the other day against Battle of Midway. I feel like these 3 horses right in the middle, 5, 6, and 7, they're going to have a lot to say about how this race is run because they all want to go.
Yeah, they're all sort of speed types. I mean, I don't know what kind, if they can, any one of them get the kind of trip that they want to get in this race. I think Elwood J, I mean, he's fine, obviously. I think he's a contender in this race, but I don't know that he's going to get the right trip. It's worth pointing out, he's run fine the turf, but he's still a maiden on the grass against Calbreds. I don't know. I don't need this horse as one of the shorter prices.
The only reason I didn't include the 8 City Storm as part of the sort of pace scenario because he's at least won from off the pace. Now, having said that, the most recent race, I'm curious to what you have to say. I thought it was an absurd ride.
Yeah.
Why was he that close to the pace?
I agree. I don't know. I don't know what they were doing in that race. Listen, maybe it's just because he was stretching out for the first time, and so he just found himself up there, and it won't be the case this time. I think this horse is a little interesting at a price, though, because I think there's more upside with this horse. The other D'Amato horse, I don't get at all. This one, I'm going to be using.
I don't want to hold that last race against him because for some reason you had 2 horses line up on the front, and this horse was right there in amongst them, and then going onto the backside, they got a half and 45 and change, and he understandably on the stretch out, he tired. He's going to. That's not a stunner. I agree with you. I think he is a little bit interesting. Now, hopefully, if they decide to take him off a little bit and let those other 3 horses to the inside go, just let them kind of burn themselves out. I think the 8 is a little interesting in here. The horse to beat, I think, is Bird is the Word. Bird is the Word is a nice horse. I know he's only 1 for 10 lifetime, but this is what he wants to do. He's getting the class relief that he needs. He has all the figures on paper, and he likely has a good running style. He also gets the hot riding apprentice, Evan Roman. I think in many ways he's the horse to beat.
Yeah, he is the horse to beat. I mean, there's just no way to avoid it. He's the horse to be dropping out of 3 straight stakes races, where he's run well in all of them. I mean, I didn't think he did anything special in that Singletary 2 starts back. Again, that's the race we touched on before. The closers really did well in there. He got a great trip in that race, and you know, Bowie's Hero was just better than him and ran him down at the end. Getting back to a mile's fine for him. I mean, in almost any way you look at this race, he's the horse to beat and the favorite, but you know, is he some kind of slam dunk in this race? I don't think he is.
No, at 1 for 10, it's hard to trust him entirely, and especially when you consider he's probably going to be in that 2 to 1, 5 to 2 range when it's all said and done. The outside runner, if we're not including the also eligibles 11 through 13, is the number 10 Kona Dreams. First time out for Bill Spar. This is a horse most recently broke the maiden for 50 going down the hill. I think his biggest problem is he's a goofball.
So far he has been. We'll see if Spar can get him straightened out. I mean, it's almost like even in his races where he makes the lead, he doesn't even know what he's supposed to do, and he starts, you know, goofing off and pulling himself up. I won't be surprised if Spar gets him straightened out, though. I think he's a really dangerous horse with his speed, but he doesn't need the lead from the outside post. I think he's a really dangerous horse falling into a trip here. You know, obviously everybody, I think, who follows California knows that Spar is maybe the best in the world off the claim. This guy off the claim on turf only over the past 3 years, 6 for 15, 436 ROI. I'll expect this horse to improve.
Yeah, and that is the formulator fact that we've got for you. The past 3 turf first after the claim, 6 for 15 with a giant ROI. I agree with you. I think he's the best in the country as far as off the claim runners are concerned, particularly on the grass. It'll be interesting to see because I understand you're taking this horse and now you're trying not just better company, but winners actually coming from maiden 50. It'll be interesting to see if he can get him straightened out because the horse has shown he's got a little bit of ability.
Yeah, I think when you go back to the beginning of his career, the first 4 starts of his career on turf, I mean, he was facing some pretty good horses in those races. He ran well in those races. He just wasn't the finished product, and he got beat in some races that he probably could have won. If Spar gets him straightened out, he's a super tough horse in here, I think.
Friday's formulated races of the day, the 6th at Santa Anita, going a mile on the turf. Let's take a look and see who we like in here. Mike, you're going to go with the inside, the number 1 Double Touch.
Yeah, I was sort of torn between the 1 and the 10 when I was going through it. I wanted to take one of them. I just sort of felt like Double Touch. He feels to me like a horse who's just going to get totally lost in the winter here. I think he'll be a big price race, even with Stevens taking them out. I think his stateside debut is a pretty good effort. If you get back to something like that, I think you can contend here at a price.
Especially if you consider there looks like there's going to be a lively pace on Don. Take him back a little bit mid-pack. I'm going to go with the 10 Kona Dreams. We'll find out if Spark and work his magic. Because again, I think this horse's got a little bit of ability. It's just he's kind of his own worst enemy at this point, a big dummy out there. So we'll find out. Maybe the stretch out will also help his cause. I like the 10. Mike likes the 1 in Friday's Formulator Race today. If you're playing at home, check out DRF Bets. All sorts of good deals for you. If you're a new subscriber or a new member of DRF Bets, make a VIP for a week. drfbets.com/VIP is the address. Scheduled post time for race number 6 at Santa Anita on Friday afternoon, 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern. Best of luck.